there is a question of whether we even want to be free, whether we want to take the trouble. I mean, I think that's what happened to the Roman Republic. When the Roman Republic fell, I think they were just done. They were just done with being free, and it was just easier to stop getting the government to work, to stop making the Senate come to decisions. It was easier to have a princeps, as they call them, the emperor, figure things out. And then, in fact, for the first, 30, 40 years of the empire, things went better than they did before. And people were actually, in some ways, every way but the political way, in some ways, people were freer in Augustan Rome, because they were ready to give up, as the satirist Juvenal said, they were ready to give up their vote for bread and circuses, for welfare and shows on Netflix, basically. That was what they were doing. It seems right now that China and the Communist Party are on the rise. They are celebrating I think it's today. They're celebrating their 100-year anniversary of the party, not of their rule of China, though they're coming up on having ruled China for, I think, 74 years, something like that. But this is their 100-year anniversary of the party. And it's really interesting because it is now morphed, as socialism always does, every single time, as communism always does. It is now no longer really a communist party. It is just an absolute party of power. It's essentially a fascist party because it allows certain free market principles to apply, but it controls everything. And if you have 3 party members in your company, then there's got to be a party, you've got to let the party meet. And basically the party controls every aspect of life, including social life. And they have a system for working your social ranking that is incredibly tyrannical, incredibly intrusive. And of course, they put people in prison camps, and they abort children without the mother's permission and all this stuff. They're a tyranny state. They have no tolerance for dissent. Their social credit system, that's what I was looking for. The social credit system gives you privileges based on conformity and adherence to the party. They put people in re-education work camps, and they're trying to export this system to the rest of the world, and they're doing really well. In Australia, Australia started to call for an independent probe into the origins of COVID-19, or the Chinese virus, as we're not supposed to call it, or the Wu flu, or the Kung flu, or the flu Manchu. And they called for that. And so immediately China banned exports from a number of Australian beef facilities and placed an 80% tariff on Australian barley. Don't you dare call for any investigations over there. And of course, we know that they have completely taken over some of our companies, Disney and the NBA, Comcast Universal is sorry for saying Taiwan was a country. They cannot make a movie that tells the truth about China, because China will shut them down. And the thing about it is just how willing our corporations are to do this. Google got caught developing a censored search engine for the Chinese market. I can't remember, it's called Firefly or something like that, or Dragonfly, maybe Dragonfly. And they Intercept called them out, and they said, we've shut it down now, but they're slowly working their way back into the Chinese market. And we see, there's this guy, what's his name? Munger, Warren Buffett and his friend, is it Robert Munger? I can't remember his name. But they were interviewed the other day, and they said, China is doing great. Here's 2 guys, billionaires, right? Absolute billionaires. And they said, we made a lot of money, but that's Charlie Munger. We made a lot of money, but that's not why we did it. We wanted independence. We wanted to be free. We wanted to associate with anyone we want. But China is doing everything right. Here's Munger talking about it.
Jack Ma's one of the swingers. So they just they said, the hell with you. He basically gave a speech when he said to a one-party state, well, you guys are a bunch of jerks, don't know what you're doing, and I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it better. And he was going to wade into banking and no rules and just do whatever he pleased.
He also brought banking to a lot of
the Chinese communists did the right thing. They just called in Jack Ma and say, you aren't going to do it, Sonny. And I wish we had I don't want all of the Chinese system, but I certainly would like to have the financial part of it in my own country.
So here's Charlie Munger, who got rich. He's talking about Jack Ma. Jack Ma is the Charlie Ma. He's a big businessman in China, and China started to clamp down on the banking system, started to clamp down on the financial system. So Jack Ma made a speech about it. Jack Ma hasn't been seen since, I don't think. He's disappeared. We don't know whether he's been kidnapped or whether they just suggested he disappear. But they love that. Munger and Buffett, they think that's great. They want independence for themselves. They got rich so they could be independent, but it's independence and for them, but not for you. And so I really wonder, just how much, when you have a system where Twitter knocks you off their platform for talking about Hunter Biden's laptop because they want to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't win the election. Or if you say the election was dishonest and there's plenty of evidence that there was fraud, you get shut down for that. If you think global warming is not a crisis, which is another way the government gains power by causing panic about global warming, then you're shut down. You're not allowed to call it global warming because the world is not always getting hotter, so they call it climate change. If you said the Chinese virus started in the Chinese lab, you get shut down. If you say men can't become women, you get shut down. So if you can't speak, that's the Chinese system. That's the system that these rich guys want. And there's a question about half the country thinks, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's all right. That's what gives Donald Trump so much power. That's what gives Donald Trump so much power. It's because here's Donald Trump. He had one of his rallies. Thousands of people show up at these things. The guy isn't president anymore. He's nobody anymore. He shows up at these things and here's something he says, cut 13.
They planned it out. Earlier this year, the Biden administration issued new rules pushing twisted critical race theory into classrooms across the nation and also into our military. Our generals and our admirals are now focused more on this nonsense than they are on our enemies. You see these generals lately on television? They are woke. They're woke.
That's why Trump is powerful. That's why people show up for Trump, because he speaks. He says the things that he sees. Listen, they're talking about him running again. Friends of mine who know him say he will run again, and I'm not so happy about that. But now they're moving to stop him by basically investigating his company. They indicted the Trump Organization's finance chief, Alan Weisselberg, and they perp walk this guy. They handcuff him and perp walk him for basically, what they're claiming is that he received perks, hotel rooms and cars and all this stuff, and didn't pay taxes on them. And they call this, it's a major scheme to avoid taxes. Well, this happens a lot, and normally the guy isn't arrested. He's not indicted. They fine him and all this stuff. But they're perp walking this guy. They're going to basically put the squeeze on him, hoping he turns over Trump. This is third world dictatorship stuff. Why are they so afraid of him? Why are they so afraid of him? Not because he's an authoritarian, because he wasn't. I don't even think he was a particularly good statesman. I mean, he was a good politician, but he didn't get a lot accomplished in terms of passing laws because he was so mean to people. They wouldn't vote for him. He couldn't form coalitions. But still, they're so afraid of him simply because he calls them out, simply because he speaks the truth. So now they have Maggie Haberman, and I love Maggie Haberman. She works at the New York Times. She used to be working at Politico, and when they hacked into Hillary Clinton's emails, they found one that said, what did they say? We feel that it's important to go with what is safe and what has worked in the past. They're trying to spread good news about Hillary Clinton. We've had a very good relationship with Maggie Haberman at Politico over the last year. We've had her tee up stories for us before and have never been disappointed. So the New York Times hired her to cover the White House. And here's her telling you exactly why they're indicting people in the Trump Organization, because she thinks they hope, and she thinks it will stop Trump from running again. Here she is.
He will be much older. He is not a young man. So there's that on its own. And then if he is dealing with, and this is an but if he is dealing with the reality of a trial in, say, 18 months, and the New York court system moves pretty slowly, it's hard to see somebody running for president with a trial playing out about how their company did business with potentially damaging testimony. I understand that there are some people who want to argue this provides rocket fuel, and yes, this will make him run again. I've heard that from a number of Trump aides. I'm not convinced that that's the case.
The attack on excellence, the encouragement of dysfunction, all of this are symptoms of a society, certainly a failed elite that doesn't want to lose its elite power. But that is so accepted by so many people in the populace is also evidence of a country that may not wish to do the work that it takes to be free anymore. That's what we're going to have to see. And on our side, listen, when I say I don't want Trump to run again, it's because I don't think Trump will win if he runs again. I could be wrong, but I do want Trumpism to remain around. And I think the best thing Trump could do is to basically select somebody to represent his philosophy in the world who is a little bit better at the inside politics of governing. That would be good, because it's not about Trump. It's not about anything except freedom. It's not even about right or left anymore. It really is about, do we believe that human beings, individuals, the ordinary man and woman, should be free?